Hey everybody, welcome back to the Sales on Demand show. You know who it is, Adam Schneider, your lovable furry host. Today is episode 130, and I'm fairly sure that the Sales on Demand show has cracked into has finished its third year. I have to look into that, but I'm fairly sure that I passed that milestone and didn't even notice it. But I mean, I feel like that's a pretty good milestone, right? 3 years. So yeah, like this podcast has been going for a while. I know that I haven't been as consistent with putting out episodes, probably averaging one episode every week and a half or so. But that's probably what's going to end up being the norm. And I just try to pack as much content into each episode as is humanly possible so that, you guys are getting the good stuff. So here we are, episode 130. Today, I want to talk about a brand new strategy for advertising on Amazon and probably anywhere else, really. But this works really well, particularly for Amazon. So just to preface this, I'm actually still in the middle of learning how to execute this strategy, and I'm currently kind of just working with somebody from a company called Aphrodite's. A little bit of backstory here, and then we'll get into the episode, is, of course, I work for Gear Bubble as basically a content manager, a training coach, just somebody who is supposed to know everything and can teach other people. So I've been doing that quite a bit. Started last year, I think, probably close to the end of the year, and it's worked out really well. Like, I'm very happy doing this. It doesn't take up a ton of time like I was concerned about, and Gear Bubble seems to be a great company. Like, I have no complaints whatsoever. The people are great, and it really fits well with the other stuff I'm doing with the low-hanging system and Rachel Raffay's program, because Gear Bubble is an integral part of that program. So me knowing and being a huge part of Gear Bubble just kind of helps everybody all together. And I'm learning some new stuff here that I didn't know anything about. I mean, I've been doing advertising on Amazon, pay-per-click. It's a big part of my strategy, but I never was really taking it to the next level. So today I'm going to talk about taking advertising to the next level. And I hope you will be like blown away by this, because I was blown away. So yeah, current events, I mean, what's going on? Ukraine. It's weird. It seems like the war in Ukraine is kind of ground to a halt. It's almost like World War I with the trenches, and, now it's just soldiers throwing themselves at each other and just sort of not making any progress. I mean, Russia has... listen, it is possible that all of this talk about Russia being not capable of doing this is not entirely true, but they're certainly not doing as well as they could be doing. And I think they expected to do better. The fact that they haven't taken over the country yet probably says a lot about the state of the military in Russia. So I fully expect that there will be a resolution to this. I expect that, they're going to come up with some kind of solution. They need to. Honestly, like, Zelensky, who's the president of Ukraine, he needs to start talking about, like, finding an end to this. Because you can't just keep throwing your citizens at a huge military forever. Eventually, you're going to run out of people to throw at them. We don't need more deaths. We need less deaths. We need an end to this. Even if it means you lose some of your territory. Who cares? That territory probably wasn't really yours anyway. Honestly, this really is beginning to look to me like just a big fight between two corrupt world leaders. And although I empathize with the people of Ukraine who are suffering under this, it is not as if the nation, the government of Ukraine, is somehow this virtuous thing that we need to preserve. I don't care about the government of Ukraine. I care about the people. The people are not the government, right? I want the people to live. And I don't necessarily want them to be under the thumb of Russia, but I don't know that it's worse than being under the thumb of Ukraine. So these two people need to sit down and make some kind of concessions. Both of them do. I mean, Putin's obviously not doing as well as he could be, and he might have to accept a deal that he doesn't like. But it just needs to start happening. We need to start talking more and sending less weapons. I'm just not happy with the idea of sending endless shipments of weapons, because that's how we got things like Afghanistan, where millions of people have died from just an ongoing insurgency and just conflict, right? These weapons, they don't just disappear after the conflict. The problem with flooding a country with weapons and just putting a weapon in the hands of every single person is that you start to get this sort of warlordy thing, right? Where people are like, okay, well, now that we fought off the Russians, now I'm going to go, like, blow up my neighbor that I don't like. That's exactly how things are playing out in all of these countries that we've flooded with, like, weapons. It's fine for people to have weapons to defend themselves, but when you just start, blowing a country up with a whole bunch of weapons, it just more people die rather than less. You're encouraging the violence. It's not about self-defense now. It's about, hey, we're encouraging you to go and fight and, defeat your enemies here. And here's some weapons to do it. And if you get killed, well, there's, you got kids, so your kids can fight, and then their kids can fight. It's just an endless cycle of violence. And I'm not down for that. In other news, I'm staring down the barrel of my departure from the military, and it's not that I hate the military. I don't hate the military at all. I just think that it's time for me to move into something different. I think that my days in the Army were fun, but I just am not getting out of it what I think I could get out of it, and I'm just ready to move on to something else. Talked about this quite a bit, actually. Anybody who's listened to my show for any length of time, you'll probably remember I've said I was going to do this, but now I have picked a day and went on a military exercise last weekend. And at the end of the exercise, I was like, okay, that was the last exercise. I wanted to go on that final exercise just so I could be like, just build some memories and then go out on a high note. I like to go out on top rather than like leaving under adverse circumstances. So this was kind of perfect. I am not at all changing my mind about leaving, but I will miss the people. There's some cool people in my troop, and it's, they're not like rah military nationalist kind of people. They're just normal. I am actually kind of astonished at just how normal the people are particularly in the reserves. And really, that's why I love the reserves, is because it is just normal people. Normal people who are like, hey, you know what? If a war starts, then I'm happy to go fight it and, defend my country, defend my homeland. I don't want to go overseas. I don't have time to live the military life, but I want to kind of dabble in it. And those kind of people, they're artists, they're engineers, they're whatever, paramedics, they're people who work at the airport. Like, they're just normal people, and they have this secret life. So it's quite a bit different than the regular armed forces, where those are soldiers that's their entire job. I'm actually opposed to having full-time standing armies. I don't think it's a good idea, because it's very expensive, and you just don't get as much for your money. It's also, a temptation to use those armed forces to go and invade other countries or interfere with other countries' sovereignty and just do stupid things like that. So, yeah. Came back from the exercise, some high points where we ran out of gas, and then the battery died on the vehicle I was in, and there was nothing I could do. I just sat in the back and kind of listened to music, and I was like, all right, well, this is fun. Got home at 9 o'clock at night on Sunday, and I was like, well, that was tiring. Back to work. It's good. You know what? It makes me appreciate my job to go and do this every once in a while. But I want to start doing some more backpacking just on my own, and maybe with one or two other people, to go out into the the mountains or something like that and hike around. I've been collecting a little bit of gear to do that. I went and bought a nice foamy mattress to lay on. It's self-inflating, so you can roll it up and put it on your pack and then lay it out, and it's like 7.5 centimeters, which is almost 3.5 inches wide. So that'll be comfortable. I'm looking forward to getting that and trying it out. I just want to do more of that. That's the fun part of what I like about the Army, without all the garbage of, getting up early and not eating good food and just all that stuff. So, all right, let's get into some good stuff here. Of course, if you guys want to know more about what I do, how I do it, and learn how to do it yourself, you can join my boot camp. Go to salesondemandshow.com/start to get those free videos. There's 5 free videos. You just have to put your email address in there, and it'll be sent to your email inbox like instantly. So, yeah. I want to do a quick recap of what I was talking about last week with regard to investments. So I was talking about things that I'm investing in, and I've been thinking about this quite a bit. So, I have a home with a big yard, a supply of food, a little bit of cash, some gold and silver, some crypto and Bitcoin. I'm going to be working on getting some stocks, probably just a S&P 500 ETF, maybe some foreign stocks as well. Some cash to buy other assets that get undervalued. So not necessarily cash on hand. That's a little different. But cash to be ready to buy assets that plunge in value. And then, of course, investing in your friends and neighbors, in your community. Investing emotionally in the people around you, because those are the people who will be there to support you if you need it. This is important. I think this might be the most important thing at all. Being the lone wolf kind of thing, I just don't like that. I'm not talking about like the end of the world scenario. I'm just talking about like if something happens that's bad to you, which is much more likely than the zombie apocalypse. We're not going to see a zombie apocalypse. That's a movie thing. I don't even think we're going to see like a Fallout 4 thing where there's a nuclear war and the survivors are just living in some kind of weird dystopian future. Probably what's going to happen is that we're just going to see a lot more inflation. The dollar is going to become undervalued. People's standard of living is going to slowly decline. At least the people who aren't building wealth. The people who are building wealth are going to become quite wealthy. And you're going to have a lot of, stuff. You'll have the ability to buy a lot of stuff. And a lot of that, you may have the opportunity to buy a lot of undervalued assets. Now, that's not good necessarily, but if you're on top of things, you can build wealth instead of losing it during these basically hard times. So, part of building wealth is building a business. And I've been thinking about like what happens if the U.S. becomes a kind of like a second world nation. And the truth is that if that happens, it doesn't change anything about my strategy, because the U.S. is not the only country in the world. It is, right now, the major country that I sell my products to, but it is not the only country. And the strategies that I've been doing, even if it's not print on demand is obviously possible, but you can sell other products, right? There is Amazon in, I think there's Amazon in Egypt and India. Like there's Amazon platforms all over the world. So you don't have to rely on the United States. And in fact, I'm more determined than ever to diversify my business and get out of a U.S. focused strategy. I just don't think focusing on the U.S. by itself is a good strategy. I see the U.S. as declining power rather than a rising power. It may take some time to decline, but there's no denying that it's going to decline. But there are countries that are like rising and doing really well. The standard of living is going up. People have more money to buy things. Those are countries that I would like to start investing in. Just like countries like Africa. So I'm looking to, see which countries might be the easiest ones to start with, and I think Japan is one. But countries like maybe even Brazil or something like that. That's a huge country with lots of people, and I don't like it's barely even tapped for e-commerce, barely tapped at all. So I think this is going to become the future. Is these countries that are not the U.S. are you're going to dive into e-commerce in a country that you've never been to and you don't know the language, and it'll still work because the strategies are the same. You just might need some translation. You might need someone who knows the language to build your listings or something like that. I really think that this is a strategy that is going to play well in the long term. All right, so let's talk about this strategy that I was bragging about at the beginning of this podcast episode. So I've been spending some time learning about Amazon pay-per-click. So if you're familiar with Amazon, you know that you can advertise on Amazon. Amazon advertising is a fairly big part of major brand building strategies. In fact, I don't think that it's possible to do well on Amazon without advertising. At least, like, if you're already doing well and you're not advertising, you could be doing so much better. Like, so very much better. And there's a strategy that I've used up until this point, and now I'm learning that my strategy may not be the best strategy, and there are several, there's a strategy that might be a little bit more effective. But, it's not that the strategy I've been using doesn't work, it's that there are other strategies. So I don't even know if the strategy that I have isn't working. It's just that I want to try this other strategy as well. I'll probably continue doing, all of the other things that I've been doing. I'll just add this to my list of things that I'm doing. So far, up until this point, this is the strategy that I have been doing. Basically, on Amazon, I have just thousands of products. Just thousands and thousands and thousands of products. And they're all just really simple products, funny text, and I just launch them on Amazon and on Etsy to see which ones might do well. The ones that do well, I take those products and I send them for Amazon FBA because you get an extreme advantage with Amazon FBA. Of course, I haven't talked about this for a while, but it is a core part of the training that I offer. The print-on-demand A to Z training that I offer, the Amazon FBA, how to do it, how to send your products, how to pick which products to send, and this still works. Like, it's working well for me, and I keep scaling up, and it's a great strategy. Now, it relies on many products to work. So my strategy so far hasn't been to try and rank up any one product, but to have a whole bunch of them. So I have, in my Amazon account, I probably have like 35 to 40 FBA listings where those are products that I sent to Amazon for fulfillment by Amazon, which is, you pre-print the product. Like, you send it to Amazon, Amazon ships it out, and the customer gets it in 2 days, which is great. It's really great for making lots of sales, especially over holidays. So now, one thing I had noticed is that during a holiday, people really just kind of get frantic, right? So you can raise your prices once the holiday begins, and you'll often make a bunch of sales, and you'll make more profit from those sales, from those products. And that is part of the strategy, but I hadn't really realized that you could turn this into like an absolute beast in this way. So I guess in a sense, the strategy that I'm going to talk about is really just building on what I've already been doing, but more of that. More of that. So now, I haven't tried this with coffee mugs. That the product that I'm going to be selling with this strategy is actually going to be jewelry. So Gear Bubble is building an inventory of these precious jewelry products. And I don't know if I've talked about this much on the podcast. it was fairly recent that these came out. They're really nice looking. They're very, very beautiful, and they're high quality. And that's important, right? It's not just important for them to be nice looking in the pictures. They have to be high quality products that have a very high perceived value, because you may be charging $70, $80, $90 for these products. And this I think is the best way to use this strategy. I don't know if this strategy would work with coffee mugs, because coffee mugs do not have a lot of built-in profitability. So the kind of strategy that I've been doing with coffee mugs, I think, is working pretty well. And I would like to try it with coffee mugs, but I don't think it's going to work as well, just because there's not as much profit built into coffee mugs. But these jewelry products are amazing. They're also kind of one of a kind. You just don't find them, and nobody has been able to offer them as FBA until now. So I'm going to be one of the first ones that is going to be diving into this, and I'm going to be taking these jewelry products and sending them to Amazon for FBA. And then there's a strategy here. So it starts with the perfect product. And you don't need hundreds of products. You don't even need 10. You just need one. You need kind of a perfect product. So it can't just be, you're throwing spaghetti at the wall to test this. This has to be something that you research. You make it perfect from the beginning. You build the perfect listing. So you spend a lot of time on this end of it. And that's different from what I've been doing so far, because you can't afford to just test these things. You have to have something that's really well optimized from the get-go. And that can be difficult to do. Then you send it for Amazon FBA. So you're going to send some units in, probably something like 50 to 100. And of course, with jewelry, it does cost more. So the base price of this jewelry is going to be something like maybe $15 to $18 per unit. So that's another factor. Like, mugs are cheap. And that's why I think that this jewelry strategy is really going to take off, because it's very hard to duplicate. It's just not something like anybody can go out there and sublimate mugs and send them in. So the barrier to entry is actually not very high. It is high enough that not very many people are doing it, but it's easy enough that there are more than a few. So it's kind of like a somewhat difficult strategy, but it's not something that requires thousands and thousands of dollars. You can buy a box of FBA mugs for $178, and you can put 6 different designs in there. That's a great way to test, by the way. But this is going to require more money, and it's going to require more time. And basically what you do is you begin aggressively advertising. So you're targeting a holiday season. Holiday seasons are where people do most of their buying, right? They're buying for Mother's Day. They're buying for Father's Day. They're buying for Christmas or Valentine's Day. So those are probably the biggest major holidays for jewelry products. So this jewelry product, by the way, you're not selling the jewelry. You're actually selling the message printed on a card underneath the jewelry. But it's the jewelry that has the perceived value. So it's kind of an interesting thing. It's not that much different from a mug, where the mug itself is worth $1.50. But what's printed on it is what people really care about, right? So they're buying this as a gift for someone else, and they care about what's printed on it rather than the fact that it's a coffee mug. So it's a nice, cheap little gift, and that's what people like about it. Now, okay, here is what the strategy is. So you build this perfect product, and you begin advertising it when it's quiet, and you lower the price. Now, this is different from what I had been doing before, because I didn't lower my price. I was just like, I'm not giving this stuff away, and I was making sales outside of holidays. So I wouldn't lower my price. I just refused. But lowering your price can actually improve the convertibility of your product. Like more people will buy it when you lower your price. I don't know how effective that is for coffee mugs. It's probably not super duper important, just because a couple dollars is really all you have to play with in terms of coffee mugs. But for these jewelry products, we're talking like a maximum price of $80, but a low price of $39, right? So that's a huge variation in the price. That's a very, very big like difference. And still, $39 is still profitable. So that's important too. Like, even when you're advertising outside of holidays, you're still making a lot of money, or at least you're making profit. It may not be as much, but you're not taking a loss. And I think that's important. I think with coffee mugs, you might have to like actually be negative cash flow to make this work. Just because coffee mugs, they're just very competitive, and aggressive advertising is going to cost a lot of money. There's just not a lot of profitability built into these products to afford you the the advertising. So you're advertising on Amazon very aggressively. Like, you're trying to sell 25 to 30 units a day outside of the holiday period. Now that's just one product, right? And you're targeting, a very popular niche. So the targets that we're going for are daughter, wife, and mother, which are like the three top niches that you can sell these products to. They're big. Lots of people have everybody's got a mother, I assume. Some people's mother aren't alive, but apart from that, everybody's got a mother, so that's big. I mean, a lot of people have a wife. That's probably the second biggest, and lots of people have daughters, so that's another one too. There's other smaller ones like grandparents. Those are probably really good niches. But you're targeting something with a lot of traffic. And then you start just advertising. So Amazon gives you data. When you advertise, you get a sale, Amazon will tell you, hey, this is the keyword that you made that sale. They only do this when you're advertising now, right? So if you're just making sales organically, Amazon doesn't tell you why that person bought the product. But when you advertise, you're paying for the data. So you get that data, you can download it, and then you start optimizing your ads. So if you notice that you're spending a lot on a particular keyword and you're not getting sales from that, then you put that keyword as a negative search term. And then you start really building out your ads, right? So you might have 7 or 8 different ads running with different keywords. You're constantly adding keywords to these campaigns. You're managing the bids. It's a lot of work, and that's why you're only doing one product. But this aggressive strategy starts to build ranking. So ranking is when your product has made sales for a keyword. You build what's called ranking for that keyword. And ranking is important. When you go into a holiday, if your product is already a high-ranking product, then it's going to sell a lot. You can't build ranking during the holiday. You have to build it before the holiday. So it's almost like, everybody's lined up to race. And you're behind the line and you're already running. So when the starting pistol goes off, you hit that start line and you're already moving as fast as you possibly can go, whereas everybody else isn't moving at all. So they have to try to gain that momentum, and you're going to outpace them every single time. It doesn't matter whether you're a faster runner than they are. You're already moving. That momentum is going to carry you through the holiday, and you're going to make lots of money. So, I mean, in the end, this company, Aphrodite's, this guy showed me his account. He's like, yeah, we've made several $1 million, and we've only been doing this for about 5 months. And I was like, okay, all right, yeah, no, that's good. That's more money than I've made in my lifetime doing print on demand with how many products? Oh, 3 products. Right. Well, that's cool. And they're at the point now where they are sending, orders of 12, like they have 1,200 of each product in stock because that's how many they need. So when the holiday begins, they're expecting to sell hundreds of units every single day. And then they start raising their prices. And this is where the profit taking comes in, right? So once they've already, won that top ranking spot and they can see where their ranking is, you can look at your bestseller rank on Amazon. They just start raising their prices incrementally. Like he'll methodically do it once the holiday begins, and he'll keep watching the ranking. So if he'll raise the price, and if the ranking goes down, he might adjust it a little bit down again, but he's incrementally raising it and keeping an eye on his ranking so that he doesn't lose the ranking. Because the ranking is how you get your sales. And the prices is how you get the profit. So I think he said his top price was something like $99 for one of their products. And I was like, well, that's $100. And if you paid $18 to get that product to Amazon, you're making $100. Take away whatever fees, $15 for the fees, you're still making like, $65, $70 in profit off one sale. And if you have the ranking to make hundreds of sales a day, wow, that's phenomenal. So this is a amazing strategy, and I'm lucky enough to be sitting in the mentorship seat, and I'm going to be learning how to do this. So if you guys want to know more about this, I don't make any money off of this, apart from I'll be paid for the training, and I'm going to learn the strategy so I can launch it in my own account. But you can join me on the Gear Bubble Facebook page, and you'll be one of the people to know when this comes out. And I do encourage you guys to join this training. It's going to cost, right? It's going to be an expensive training program. Probably going to be about $2,000, maybe even more. But I'm looking at the profitability of this, and it's going to be phenomenal. Phenomenal. And then once I've learned how to do this, I may end up building my own training program and start teaching how to do this. And, you can use this with any product. It doesn't have to be a print-on-demand product. So it's just good stuff to know. Anyway, that's pretty much it for this session. Keep your morale up, right? It may look dark out there, but there's always opportunities. And if you are the person searching for those opportunities, you'll find them. If you're just sitting there complaining about how the world sucks, well, yeah, it's going to suck for you, because I'm going to take those opportunities and you are going to miss out. So come and join me. Take these opportunities. Let's make some money. Let's preserve our wealth, keep our families intact, and build something for the future. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week. Cheers.